Hi, 7th graders. I wanted to take a minute to just review with you the parts of the heart. Remember that when you're looking at a heart diagram, you're looking at it as though it's in someone else's chest that's looking at you. So even though it says right atrium and left atrium, if you think about it, the right atrium is actually on your left as you're facing the heart. But remember, this person is looking at you. So you're looking at a cross-section of someone's heart in their chest. That's why it's the opposite. So the right atrium would be coming up on the right side of the body, of your body, if you look down, or at someone's body as you look at them. Don't get confused by that and mislabel it. So you can see here that the parts of the heart are two different colors. Now, as you hopefully remember from the pig dissection that we did, or the pig heart dissection that you saw me do, the heart isn't actually blue and red. That is an indication, these colors are an indication of what color the blood is in the heart at that time. So the blood in the right atrium and the right ventricle is blue, and the blood in the left atrium and left ventricle is red. That's because red blood has oxygen in it and blue blood has little or no oxygen in it. And that's what makes the difference there. So remember, the heart itself isn't blue and red. It's actually kind of a brownish color because it's a muscle, and it's actually the strongest muscle in your body. It is just, when you see these diagrams, it's just an indication of what color the blood is in the heart at that point. Okay, so let's take another look at the heart here. So, as I said before, you can see that the right side of the heart, which is, remember, you're looking at somebody, so they're facing you. So the right side of the heart is colored blue, and the left side of the heart is colored red, because that is the color of the blood in that part of the heart. So let's look at some of the anatomy. So we have the inferior, the superior and inferior vena cava, okay? And if you remember from our review today, the vena cava is the largest vein. And then we have the superior, kind of hard to fit, and then the inferior down below. So remember, superior, you're above. Superior means to be higher than or above someone or something, and then inferior is below. So that is right here, and then the superior is right here. So that blood is coming in from the parts of the body. After it's dropped off the oxygen, it is missing that oxygen that it needs. So what is it going to do? It has to go to the heart so that it can be pumped to the lungs. Okay, so remember, your heart is a pump. Now, yes, that's very important, but that's the only thing it does. It doesn't oxygenate the blood. It doesn't transfer any gases. It is a pump. But obviously it's very important, because if you didn't have this pump, then your blood would just sit wherever gravity told it to. So as I was standing up, all my blood would be in my feet. If I lay down, all of my blood would be evenly distributed towards the back of my body. So that's really not going to work. Your body needs to pump blood around. That's going to fight the gravity when you are standing up or doing whatever you need to do. So again, remember that it is a pump, and that blood needs to come in from the body and get re-oxygenated, because remember, it has no oxygen because it's blue and it's dropped off all of the oxygen at the body, and it needs to come into the heart and get pumped out to the lungs. Okay, so like I said, whoops, sorry. Let's try not to do that again. There we go. Okay, so blood comes in from the body. It has no oxygen, and it needs to get pumped to the lungs. And let's pretend kind of like they look kind of like big ears, but that the lungs are kind of like over here. Okay, so this blood needs to come in and get pumped to the lungs. So it comes in here, right atrium, right ventricle pumped out and into the lungs. Remember, the word pulmonary means lung. So what is this called? Remember, it is, even though it looks red, it's blue on the inside, okay? So it is pumping blue blood away from the heart. Away means it would be transferred by artery. So this would be the pulmonary artery that moves blood away from the heart. It is the only artery that pumps oxygen-poor blood. Remember, all arteries carry oxygen-rich blood, which is red, except the pulmonary artery because it hasn't picked up that oxygen yet. Okay, so let's draw in our lungs again. There's your bronchi. Right here, your tracheas coming up this way. Bronchi, and they come out like that. Okay, so blood comes in, superior, inferior vena cava, into the right atrium, right ventricle, out the pulmonary artery, and into the lungs, where it picks up the oxygen that it needs. Okay, then once it's oxygenated, it comes back into the pulmonary vein. Remember, pulmonary means lungs, and all veins carry oxygen-poor blood except the pulmonary vein because it is returning from the heart all nice and red with oxygen. So vein is to the heart, okay? All veins carry blood to the heart, and almost all of them carry oxygen-poor blood except this pulmonary vein. So pulmonary vein takes the blood back to the heart, and this one is funny, kind of weaves kind of in the back here, and it's not labeled on this diagram, but there's another set of pulmonary veins right here. Okay, excuse me, and it goes in, so this one would go behind and come into the left atrium. So that nice, rich, oxygenated blood comes from the lungs through the pulmonary vein into the left atrium, down into the left ventricle. Notice how thick the muscular walls are here, okay? Yes, the right ventricle is thick, but this is much thicker, okay? And that is because the left ventricle has to pump blood throughout the entire body, okay? This right ventricle, yes, it has to be strong, but it only has to go as far as the lungs. This left ventricle has to pump blood strong enough and give it enough of a shove that it's going to go out the aorta and to the rest of the body. Okay, so let's review the blood flow one more time. You have blood coming in from the body, okay, that doesn't have oxygen in it because it's dropped it all off on the body. It comes in the superior vena cava and the inferior vena cava, goes in to the right atrium, then to the right ventricle, and then out the pulmonary artery. Remember, arteries carry blood away, and they all carry oxygen-rich blood except the pulmonary artery, okay? So it's blue, it's tired, comes in the right atrium, right ventricle. This right ventricle gives it a nice good shove out the pulmonary artery and to the lungs. This is where that gas exchange occurs, okay? So carbon dioxide is replaced with oxygen, and now we've got this yummy red blood that's going to return to the body through the pulmonary vein. Remember, all veins carry blood to the heart, and they all carry oxygen-poor blood except the pulmonary vein because it's returning from the lungs. So you have this lovely red blood returning into the heart via the pulmonary vein into the left atrium, the left ventricle, and then it goes out the aorta, where and remember, there's a descending aorta down here. You don't have to know that, but on your diagram, it has this little artery down here. That's the descending aorta. So this left ventricle has very thick muscular walls because it has to pump it so hard that it's going to go out to the rest of the body. So the only other anatomy that you need to know in the heart, other than the vena cava, superior and inferior, and then right atrium, right ventricle, left atrium, left ventricle, pulmonary artery, pulmonary vein, is the septum, okay? Let's change the color on that. The septum, okay? And that is just that muscular wall that divides the left side and the right side of the heart, okay? So it's called the septum. And remember, you also have a septum in your nose. And if you have a deviated septum, that means your septum is off center a little bit. You'll tend to talk like this because your nose always sounds like it's stuffed up. So you should be able to start anywhere in the heart and continue that entire process all the way until you get back to where you started. You should also be able to tell me what color the blood is at that point in the heart. So you might want to practice that. Look at your diagrams that you have in your notes. There's also diagrams on Blackboard and Google Classroom. So one of the things that I like to do to diagram the blood flow through the heart, sometimes you don't even need the heart to diagram the blood flow. So what I would do, and I'm going to start in the left ventricle, just because we always seem to start with the vena cava. So I'm going to start with the left ventricle. So I'm going to write it in the color that the blood is at that time. Okay, so left ventricle, that actually says ventricle. Okay, so left ventricle, and, left ventricle, then it goes out the aorta, okay? Then the aorta leads to arteries, and obviously the aorta is the biggest artery, but you have other arteries in your body that are a little bit smaller. And then it goes to the body cells. But now at the body cells is where it drops off the oxygen. Now remember, this is actually the capillaries, okay? So in the body, I keep connecting my R's and my I's, and then it just doesn't look like the right word. Okay, capillaries. Okay, so remember you have at your body, you'll just have like little body cells, and the blood would go in red, and then as it drops off all that oxygen, the blood would start to turn blue when it leaves. Okay, so when it leaves, it is now returning back to the heart, which means it's going to return back to the heart through your veins, which are going to lead to the superior and inferior vena cava. There's that R and that I connection thing again. Let me see if I can, there we go. And then into the heart, into the right atrium, into the right ventricle. Oh, now I'm connecting C's and L's. That means it's time for bed. Let's see. Okay, right ventricle, and then, let's see, pulmonary artery, and then to the lungs, and I'll be tricky here, see? Oh, look at that. Where it picks up the oxygen. And remember, again, this is at the capillary level, but in the lungs, it happens at the alveoli. So the lungs pick up the oxygen and send it back to the heart in the blood through the pulmonary vein. And then the left atrium. And then we're back where we started with the left ventricle. So you should be able to do this. Just change the color of the writing. You should just be able to go in order. It is a closed system, which means it's never changes. It doesn't matter where you start. It is predictable, and as long as it's working correctly, it's predictable. So this is something that you should be able to do very easily, and definitely something that you're going to want to practice.